Probably the most common place during the swing where golfers get in a lot of trouble is the transition from backswing to downswing, or the change in direction. At this point, once the transition has started, there really isn't going to be any recovering anymore. There's just too little time, faster than the conscious brain can even think. There's not a lot of time to adjust anymore. So what happens in transition is going to have most of the influence on what happens through the impact zone. So right after this, let's talk about some key points that are going to get you transitioning more like the pros on TV, so that you can hit it longer and straighter down the fairway. Hey, this is with HitItLonger.com. I'm on a journey to hit it longer and straighter off the tee, longer and straighter all the way to the green. If you're on a similar journey and you'd like to pick up some distance and accuracy, especially with the driver, then please consider hitting the subscribe button, liking this video if you liked it, and leaving a comment down below. And if you're new to the channel, I've left a link below to my free ebook that you can pick up, called 50 Tips for Hitting Your Longest Drives Ever. I think there's going to be a couple of good tips in there for you to help you get more yardage off the tee. Now, before we get into the 3 big keys I've got for you in improving your transition so that you can improve through the impact zone, let me preface it by saying that your issue might be happening before you get to the top of your swing, which means that the transition just simply can't save you. So if your backswing is way off, you're going to need to make a larger compensation if you're going to get the club back on track again on the way down. So while making a good transition, it's kind of like an oil funnel. It will funnel your swing down correctly. That is, as long as you get the oil into the funnel. But if your backswing is so crazy, doesn't matter how good your transition is. You're just simply not going to recover in time. If these tips don't help, I would urge you to go back and look at the video of your swing again, if you take video, or have someone else look at video of you and see if there's anything untowards going on with your backswing. Okay, I've enlisted the aid of this folding chair here to help us with the visuals of what you're going to need to do to make a good transition. So the first key, and let's assume that you've gotten to a pretty good position at the top of the swing, maybe something like this. You notice here that I have unweighted my left foot to the point where the heel has actually come off the ground. Now, I recommend doing this and detaching the heel as well as rolling it in. But even if you don't play that style, you're still going to be weighting up your right foot, hopefully, and still unweighting your left foot. Even though it's not coming off the ground, it still has less weight being pushed into the ground at this point. So we get to the top of the swing, and the first thing that all good golfers are going to do is they're going to step down, just like that. Now I'm going to be stepping down specifically into the heel, into the outside of the heel. So I want my weight coming down into the outside of the heel, not the instep. So something like this, unweight it, and step down into the heel. Plant the weight into the heel, just like that. Eventually your weight is going to be favoring the outside of the left foot or the front foot. Now this point will be really good for the golfers who either leave their weight back, or the golfers who start the downswing by trying to pull the handle. But instead we want to get the dynamic shifting of weight starting the downswing. All right, so from a new angle we can better see step number 2 that happens in transition. Let's take it back to the top again. Say you're in a pretty good spot at the top. You'll notice here, that's why I'm using this chair, when I start I'll have both butt cheeks equally weighted on the chair. As I go back, my left hip and butt cheek should orbit down and around the posted right. So now, as I show you the step down from this angle, step down, you're going to see my left butt cheek returns right back to the wall again. And this is going to put me in this classical squat position that you see a lot of the greatest golfers get in. Just like that. So now both butt cheeks are back on the wall again, and from here I can continue shifting my weight around to 8 o'clock, and this is where I'm going to get the roll of the weight onto the outside of the front foot in the heel. So that brings both of those two ideas together really nicely. Okay, we're back to the face-on view for one more key for making a transition more like a pro on TV, or let's just say a really good player. I'm enlisting this pizza box. You might have seen me do a pizza box a while ago, but this one is now, I've got it color coded for easier understanding. So I'm going to show you now how to spin the pizza box. That's step number 3, what good players will do in transition. Let's get this back to the top again, like this. And at this point you can see that the orange, or we'll call it the pepperoni side of the pizza, is facing the camera. Now watch what happens though as I step down and return the butt cheek to the wall, just like that. In addition to this, I'm also going to spin the pizza box. So in this case, I'm going to be spinning it counterclockwise. You see, as we wind up, you're going to be spinning the pizza, or winding up the forearm like this. So notice that I start on blue. As I'm halfway up, I've got blue side pointing towards the camera, and I wind up the wrist to get the orange side at the camera. So now the wrist and forearm are fully wound up for power. And now as I step down onto the heel, return the butt cheek to the wall, I'm going to rotate or unwind the forearm to show the blue side back to the camera again. So here I'm more dropping into a rock skip position as I transition. So now how did I do that? Well, part of that was from the rotation of the chest, and the rotation of the pivot helps rotate the pizza box relative to the camera's position. However, I'm also doing some of that with the rotator cuff up here in my front and rear of my shoulder. So on the way back, you can see I've got the blue facing you. I'm going to wind it up. I'm going to spin the pizza box. Notice I've got, it's like it's on a tray. It's ready for delivery here. I'm going to spin the pizza box, about 45 or 60 degrees or so. This would be clockwise, fully wound up. And now I'm going to unwind the forearm as I step down. And now the blue side of the pizza box faces, well, the camera, or down to the ball at least, but outwards this way. This would be a complete transition. One more time, here and here. Now once we're able to make all of those 3 steps successfully, that'll bring the club, hopefully you've gotten it back pretty close to parallel at the top, but it's going to bring the club, it's going to advance the handle of the club and the left arm down to about shoulder high here. So the butt of the club is now about shoulder high from here, here. Okay, it is at this point where the uncocking force, or the throw of the club, really now starts to ramp up. There was little bits of uncocking force already starting, but now once you hit shoulder high, you really see the uncocking force, or the release of the club. Yeah, starting way back here. Throw, give the club a good throw from there so it'll catch up by the time you reach the ball. Now one point of contention, I believe that as you step down and you return the butt cheek back to the wall again, which is a great exercise to do at home. You can do this transition drill at home over and over again. I think you'll be able to remember it one next time you go to the range. But I see a lot of people who think that you should keep the shoulder line closed or create some kind of an X factor. And I don't think you should do that. I think that you should allow the chest to immediately start to rotate in response to this pivot. So I would want to see, watch as I step down and return the butt cheek. You see that my chest starts rotating immediately to advance the arms down and around the circle. Now you'll see from the down the line angle, the reason why we'd want the chest to respond and start turning with the transition is if you were to keep the chest closed, so I'd sit down but resist with that shoulder, the handle of the club would tend to drop down below the plane and stand up the shaft. And I want the handle of the club tracking an arc around me. I don't want it to go down, which means it has to go out late, but instead I want it to come out and around me, and the turning of the chest as I step down is going to get that club to come around so I can throw it around to the left after impact. So I would not keep the chest shut or resist opening up the front shoulder. All right, let me hit a couple for you from a few different angles. We'll slow it down so you can see the individual components of the transition I've been describing so far. So the golfers you see on TV have a lot of different variations of backswings. Some even borderline on what you might call crazy. But because these players make such a good transition, the transition kind of funnels the downswing so that they all look a lot more alike as they're coming into the ball. And that's the power of a good transition. It can cover up some of the mistakes, hopefully not too severe, but it will cover up some of the smaller mistakes that you're making in going back. So I hope you'll consider these 3 key points and practice this exercise at home. You can do it with just an empty hand or maybe a small club. Do it with a patio chair or something and just practice stepping down onto the heel, returning, and of course spinning the forearm. Then you can transition into a full downswing and really feel what it feels like to take that transition and make it flow through the impact zone. So hey, I hope you get some benefit out of this video. If you did, I hope you'll come back and let us know and update us down in the comments below. And I know you have a lot of choices in YouTube instructions, so thanks a lot again for watching my channel. Thanks to Golf Development Complex in Moorpark, California for this beautiful day and hosting us. And as usual, I'll either see you in the next video or I'll see you longer and straighter down the fairway. Take care.